Welcome to the Sacred Dance Summit. I'm Leslie Zehr, author of The Alchemy of Dance, Sacred Dance as a Path to the Universal Dancer, and your host for this summit. My guest today is Michelle Dubreuil Macek. Michelle is a pioneer in the system of Biodanza in the USA. A lifelong dancer herself, she was fortunate enough to know and train with the founder of Biodanza, Rolando Toro Aranida, in Brazil and Italy. After completing her Biodanza studies in Johannesburg, South Africa, she moved to Lusaka, Zambia, where she began offering classes to parents and children and at a local Catholic hospice for the caregivers, as well as around the capital city. Since her return to the USA from Africa in 2008, she's been planting seeds and opening spaces for the practice of Biodanza up and down the East Coast of America and is located in the Maryland, D.C. area at the moment. Michelle has completed the extensions in Biodanza called Voice and Percussion, Biodanza for Children, Youth, Families, and Biodanza for Organizations. She has taught at the Omega Institute for Holistic Studies in Rhinebeck, New York during the Family Week events, at the yearly New England Dance Camp in New Hampshire, and has offered workshops in Biodanza schools, at Biodanza encounters in the world and nationally. A retired Fulbright French teacher of 32 years, she is an intuitive mind-body life coach who also uses hypnotherapy, Reiki, and Qigong with her clients. Michelle is married with 3 children who all dance with her and a dog named Zena. Hi, Michelle. Welcome to the summit.
Hi, thank you so much.
You could join us.
Thank you for having me on as a speaker.
We're excited to hear you speak about Biodanza today. But before we get into that, maybe you can just tell us a little bit about how your dance journey began.
I have been a dancer since yay high. I started as a little girl when I was 5. My mother's best friend was a dance teacher. And so I started with tap, jazz, ballet, did a little Hawaiian, modern, got to point. So throughout my sort of youth and career as a dancer, it was mainly just for fun. You know, and I continued on in college and really all of my adult life. So yeah, I've had lots of good experiences. I lived in Connecticut, so I used to go into New York for master classes and just lots of fun type dancing, but structured, you know, with learning routines. For me, it was always a wonderful outlet and really connected me to my body. So that's kind of my initial journey of dance, of growing up. And then...
And how did you find Biodanza, excuse me.
So then I received a Fulbright to go to Africa as an exchange teacher. And I end up in West Africa. So there I started doing West African dance, of course, on very hard surfaces. It's not great for your knees. And I just continued taking whatever kind of classes that were available to me. We moved to Uganda, but it was in South Africa where I found Biodanza. And it was a bit of a serendipitous event. So I read about it in a magazine. And then I was waiting in a doctor's office and I saw a sign on the wall about Biodanza. And I thought, this is twice now. What is this? So I went, I called and made an appointment, had coffee with the director. And before I know it, I'm in these Biodanza classes. And my intention was to come back to the United States after my stint in Africa and perhaps get a degree in dance therapy, because that's what I knew kind of I wanted to do with my life after the French teaching. But once I discovered Biodanza and saw the healing benefits of Biodanza, I knew that's what I was meant to do. So
you were hooked.
I was hooked.
That's how it happens.
Yeah. So I did the 3-year program. It's a 3-year facilitation program and in Johannesburg. And then we had to move to Lusaka, Zambia, and I would fly down to finish my program. And so, yeah, that's how I discovered Biodanza. And a far off land. And yeah, it was meant to be, I think.
Sounds like it. You had your
Yeah.
your serendipitous moments, so you were meant to be there.
Yes, and I haven't stopped since, and that was in 2004. Oh, that was in 2004. I wanted to join the school. I was pregnant. I waited. The school started the following year, so after I had my third child. So it all worked out perfectly, really. Yeah.
So what is Biodanza? Tell us a little bit about
So,
what
wow.
it's all about.
Biodanza is there's so much to say about it, and to condense it is difficult, but I will try. So one of the important things to understand about Biodanza is that it's a system. It's a system of affective integration, so the heart, of organic renovation, the body inside, and relearning of our original life functions. So going back to the instinct. And we do all this in what we call Viventia, which is what we call the class. Vivencia comes from the Spanish word vivir, which means to live in the present. So Vivencia is when you're in the present. Well, when Ram Dass said, "Be here now," that's Vivencia. So everything that I just explained is based on Vivencia, and it's induced by dances, by singing, and by group encounters. So the affective integration, the organic renovation of the body, the going back to the instincts, it's all nurtured by the dance, the music, the singing, but most importantly, the group encounter. So that's the definition of the sort of academic definition of Biodanza, but the more existential definition is that it's poetry of the human encounter. And this is the very unique factor in Biodanza, because Biodanza is not a solo dance. We do dance solo, but we also dance with the other, and we dance in a group. And so the group is one of the healing factors.
Kind of reflection for seeing
Yeah.
ourselves in others, or
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so to go a little further in how Biodanza was created, it was created in the country of Chile by a man named Rolando Toro and his wife. And in reflecting what I wanted to talk to the viewers about, I was thinking, this really is perfect for your healing summit, because Rolando in the 60s went and asked people, hundreds of people at the university, what do you want out of life? What is it that you want out of life? And the same 5 themes kept coming up. And to me, these 5 themes are what people wanted to heal in their lives. You know, their desires, they desired these things, couldn't figure out how to get them, but they needed healing. And so over the course of the 60s, mid 70s, Rolando created this system of Biodanza. So these 5 things that kept reoccurring were, people said that they wanted to have more energy, be more vivacious in life. So we call that vitality. People said that they wanted more pleasure in life, and not just sexual pleasure, but pleasure just in life, how to access pleasurable experiences. And we call that sexuality. So tapping into the vitality, the sexuality. People said, I want to love and be loved. That's the most important one. So Biodanza is kind of the revolution of love, right? So that we call affectivity. People said, I want to be more creative in life. I want to create with my life, creativity. And finally, the 5th one that kept popping up was, they said, I want to be connected to something greater than myself. And we call that transcendence. So these 5 lines of Vivencia are woven into every class. So we have vitality, sexuality, affectivity, creativity, transcendence, in no particular order. So these 5, I think that back then, as I reflect on it now, the people, the reason why they kept popping up, because it was something that needs to be healed in humanity. They're kind of global elements. Yeah.
Everyone can relate to them. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's true. It's not cultural. It's a human longing for those things.
Exactly. And so Rolando set about to create, over the course of 10 years, this system by which people can reconnect to their affective integration with life and with others, the heart space, where they can reclaim their bodies by connecting to the body-mind connection, and where they can go back to relearning your original life force, which is your instinct, which sometimes culture takes away from us, right? So a biodanza class, unlike many other modalities, is not a drop-in class. We do have open classes where you can come and enjoy and see if you like it. And if it resonates with you, how it works is that you join a group, and your group can be 4 people, it can be 50 people. It depends on where you are in the world. And your facilitator will take you on a journey over the course of however long you commit to the class. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. And within the structure of Biodanza, the system, there are 250 dances or so, and very specific music that goes with those dances. So it's very organic music. It's been researched to work well with the dance, the exercise, as well as with the emotion that we're tapping into. So it's not really free dance. It's more like guided facilitation, but you know, what comes out, comes out. It's a non-judgmental space, Biodanza. So you come and you are able to be in your own Viventia. You can live your own life. You can live your feelings, right? So the music is the healing power. The integrative dances that we propose, that's the healing power. And the group, most importantly, is a healing power, because, you know, whenever we come together as a group to support and nurture each other, there's lots of healing going on. And so this is what we do in Biodanza. All of these dances are proposed very progressively. The facilitator creates a safe space, a safe and loving container for healing, basically. And there are many wonderful stories that people tell. And we also have a couple of Biodanza facilitators, directors of schools, 2 in particular, one in Germany at the University of Leipzig, who does research with Biodanza. So he has been researching Biodanza for quite some time on the healing effects, the actual scientific healing effects of Biodanza. And there are some, it's a whole nother conversation. But it's quite magical. It seems magical. There's a little bit of spirit, you know, it's a very sacred aspect to, you know, your body healing itself through movement, music, and allowing emotion to come out and to be expressed and to be supported by a group.
Is there, I've done it only a couple of times. There was a woman here in Cairo that did it, and she just kind of did some demonstrations. It wasn't really a class. I'm wondering, is it you said it's a system, or there's these 200 dances. Is it a system in that you're taking, there's a kind of a structure of how you're going through, or is that up to the teacher, how you proceed from one dance to another, or it's based on the group, or what are the, what's structured and what's sort of spontaneous?
So so a Biodanza has a system, a structure, definitely, of how and when you introduce dances, and which is important, which is why it's important that you join a group and have a contained group. Once your group is contained and you have have 12 to 20 people in it or however many, the group closes, because the teacher is then the observer. The facilitator is the observer and sees how the group is moving forward, and the dances are introduced in a specific order. Yes. So it depends on the group, of course. It depends on the integration, how well the people are integrating what's being introduced. So there's a definite curve in Biodanza, beautiful curve. So we start with vitality, we move into rhythm and melody, we move into flow, and then we move into that space where we're able to let go, right? And then let go, connect. And then at the end, we gently come out of the experience. One really important thing about Biodanza that I would like to mention is that Rolando always felt that we should come from a point of potential. So these are 5 lines of potential. So we don't do neurosis. We go there. Of course, people will cry. A piece of music might touch them, a dance, but we don't stay there. We allow the body to process it and let go, and then we come up and out. And then we come back the next week, we show up for life, because life is sacred, and we do it all over again. So we always come up with a point of view in Biodanza of what is good about me? What can I pull out that's wonderful and spectacular? Yeah, a quote that I heard him say that I really, really love is, every human being is miraculous and, oh, I'm probably going to forget it now. Every human being is miraculous and spectacular in the cosmos with many potentials. Genius, right? Because we all are spectacular. So Biodanza is a way of tapping into that marvelousness that exists inside. Yeah. So.
And I think that's the goal of every human being, is to come to your fullest potential. So if you can find a way to express that, I like that it's a very positive, that you end in a positive.
Yes.
You don't just go take the journey down and then stay down there.
You know, and another thing about it is that there's no talking. So the facilitator will show a little bit of the dance and then put the music back on for the participants, and then they do their own thing in silence, because we try and deactivate the cortex as much as possible so that people can just be in their vivencia, be in the music. You know, the music, we encourage people to think of it as like the ear is not receiving the music, but the body is receiving the music, and to let the body react to the music and the emotion and to go with that. So it's all very, it's all, Biodanza is about creating like this very enriched environment for the participants on a weekly basis. So they know when they leave a class, it's a very hopeful, happy feeling, right? You come to a group, it becomes like your family. So everything about Biodanza is creating these enriched, eco-positive factors in life. We have enough of the negativity. We have enough of living in the negative eco-factors of life. And so I think that that's why Rolando was like, no, we need to create these environments where people can thrive, right? And a lot of it, that was back in the 60s, and now with the whole talkings about epigenetics. One of my, Rolando, not in the 80s, 90s, was talking about Bruce Lipton and the biology of belief, right? So everything that happens above the genes, epigenetics, above the genes, that's what makes the human being, that's what makes the cells inside of us thrive. And Rolando knew that back in the 60s by creating the system where, yes, you can take deep dives. I mean, maybe you go to a workshop. We do have one workshop called the Minotaur. Once you've been in Biodanza for a while that you can go and you take the deep dive in the monitor and you confront your fears. But that's that is not what we do on a weekly basis, right? So yeah, the positive eco factors and coming from a point of view of health and wellness, that's really healing.
And what happens after? So from the perspective of a participant, because obviously you were a participant before you became a facilitator. So there's no talking in the class, you're having this very positive experience. And then do you go home and kind of process everything, or are you not encouraged to do that? You're encouraged to just come back the next week, or what? How does the, because it seems some realization or some coming to not a conclusion, but just to the awareness of what might have moved through you even is a positive aspect of healing. So I'm wondering, as from a participant's point of view, what is the process? You go and have this very positive experience, and then what do you do with that experience afterwards?
Yeah, that's a great question. I forgot to mention that. So when you're in a weekly group, after class, we encourage people not to talk about their experience, because, you know, as human beings, we want to automatically start judging and analyzing and saying this, that, and I feel this, that. In Biodanza, we say, hey, let the body feel it, let it sink in and see what it's like. You can go journal it if you need to. And then the next week, what we do is we come back and we have a sharing circle. Okay. So we start class seated in a circle. And if you want to share, you can. Some people don't in the beginning, but it's all very much your space to do what you want to do, which is beautiful. If you don't want to do a dance, you don't have to do a dance. If you don't want to share, you don't have to. So we do have a sharing circle to share feelings, right? Like, what did I feel? A lot of people don't remember the Viventias because they're so into it, right? But they'll remember a feeling, or they'll remember a piece of music that struck them, or they'll say, they'll say, well, you know, that dance we did, you know, it kind of related to my life because I was able to have a little bit more power when speaking to my boss. And I remembered that dance of determination. So we do have that sharing circle that is super important for the group the following week.
And I think that's a great idea to have it the following week, because in my experience, things don't happen. You don't necessarily come to a realization right after you've done something, but I encourage people maybe to journal after an experience, but then go to sleep. What are you dreaming about? What came up after? Read what you wrote in your journal a week later or something, because I do think that time is really, it's got to percolate in there. You've had some potent experience, and what is it doing to you? So yeah, I think that's probably the best time to share is a week later, because otherwise everybody does go into their head if immediately, well, this is what happened and that's what happened, and so let it percolate for a bit and see what actually did come out of it, rather than what you think in the moment came out of it.
Absolutely. And, you know, sometimes people tend to, the dream process tends to ramp up. The sleeping tends to get better. Relationships with others tend to get better as well. Because when you're in the body and you're integrated, thinking the same thing, saying the same thing, feeling the same thing, and that's what we work on, is this integration through these integrative dances. Life becomes very clear. It becomes very calm and peaceful, and you become very centered and powerful because you know what you want. You're in full integration. So this becomes obvious in the sharing circle as people week after week start talking about how they're feeling in their lives, in their internal lives, external lives. You start to see over time the power of the healing power of the dance. Oh,
excellent.
Yeah, it's quite magical.
You said you have this Minotaur event that you do somewhere further down the line, but Is it always weekly classes, or do you have like retreats or workshops or
Yeah.
things that are kind of a shorter span?
Yeah. So, yeah, around the world. So I didn't say at the beginning, but there's many Biodanza. Just look for a class near you. It's on every continent, everywhere. There's 150,000 of us practicing weekly, and many of us have workshops. Some have day workshops, some have weekend workshops. We have encounters. We call them encounters. We have 4-day encounters. So yes, normally you would go to a weekly class. I have some people who can't come on that particular evening I'm having class, so they'll come to my one-off open weekend classes that I do on a Saturday night, for example. And many facilitators around the world will do that, because once a group is formed, it's an ebb and a flow. It really depends. But once that group is formed, it's closed. You know, sometimes people can come in, sometimes they come out, but mainly it's a closed group. So you'd have to go to an open class to experience it, or start when people announce they're having a new group, a new 12-week session. So that's kind of how we work Biodanza. So yeah, there are all kinds of various events happening around the world.
Yeah, because it seems that is a problem these days, commitment, which maybe that should be part of what you're learning in the class, but to get people to commit to a period of time, I think is a difficult thing. So if there could be a shorter one, or intensive, however you like to put that.
Yeah. Commitment, especially here in America, I think, can be tricky, because people live very hard, busy lives. They work a lot, they're tired in the evening. But the people who will find Biodanza and commit to it are seeking healing. And when you come to a class and you say, come for 4 weeks to try it out, you don't want to leave. Well, sometimes you do, because you're scared. It's like you're healing. There's like a healing fact. Some people say, oh no, I'm not ready for this. And then other people are like, yes, this is what I need. And so this is why we do what we do, right? For those who are willing to commit to the process. And then most people, like you were asking before, just don't want to, they love it. So they come, they commit to coming, and then you grow your group. And you know, groups, it depends on where you are in the countries and the various cities around the world, but some groups, like I said, are smaller. Some groups are like 50, 60 people if you're in a big metropolis city. So people will just keep coming and keep coming. And because there are people who've done Biodanza for 20, 30 years, like right from the beginning with Rolando. A lot of people do the training and not become teachers, because it's such an intense personal development course. It's really quite spectacular. And it touches on everything. Rolando took from everything. He said, I didn't create anything. I just took all the genius from the world and put it into one movement system. And when you come to Biodanza and you actually do it, and if you choose to then study it, you see that this is true.
I'm sure it could be something that you could just use as a practice throughout your life, because even when we resolve issues, they may come back in a different form or at a different level. So if it's a tool that you have, then you can just tap into it continuously.
I mean, there are some people who do Biodanza, who go away, who come back, who might switch to a different facilitator, who might switch to a more advanced class, or, you know, it's an ebb and a flow of life. I mean, that's the way it goes. But facilitators, like, for example, myself, I'm unique here on the East Coast. There are no classes for me to attend. So I don't have my own class. I would love to have my own class to go to. But when I left Africa, that was it, you know. So, but normally facilitators will go to their own class for their own personal enrichment as well.
So maybe you can give us some some specific, this is a healing modality.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you can just give us some examples of some specific examples
Of
of how it's an internal and external healing modality.
Oh, well, besides how I've explained already, let's see specific examples. So, from my own experience and from experiences of my students, first of all, scientifically, it reduces your stress. So that's one of the researches going on. So it's a very stress relieving, maybe not in the beginning when your stress is a little heightened when you come to class, but once you sink into it, it's a system by which you allows the body to rest, to not always be heightened. So your cortisol, it reduces your cortisol levels and pumps up your oxytocin and your serotonin levels, right? Which are the feel-good hormones. So that in itself is very healing. And if you're experiencing that on a weekly basis, even if you come once, you could leave on your very own high. Like you don't need drugs or alcohol. In fact, we don't involve drugs and alcohol, religion, none of that with Biodanza. It's all about the supreme experience. I had a student once who, in the caress of the hand dance that we do, experienced a healing of her eczema, which had been really plaguing her for a while. And we did this dance and it went away. I've had other students who have had sort of mystical experiences while in a dance of transcendence, where we're connecting with the universe. He told us, sometimes you have these aha moments and you just want to tell them after class, and that's okay because it's like so exciting.
It can't be contained for a whole week.
Cannot be contained. So there are experiences like that. There have been couples who come to Biodanza to reconnect on a bonding level. If you come with your partner, it's a beautiful way to reconnect with your partner, because you're not just dancing alone. We have dances together in threes with the group. So we're going back and forth and we're connecting with each other. But it's something that a couple could commit to dancing with each other. So there are couples who have, renovated their relationships just by coming and being together with no distraction, with affectivity, with love. So there are so many anecdotal healing events or things that have happened. There's so many that I created a Biodanza page for the healing, for people to leave testimonials, because the testimonials are really deep and profound. And yeah, people who have experienced trauma have been able to slowly, on their own terms and in their own way, release the trauma through the body and accept the love of the group. So, as the facilitator, you're watching and proposing dances and going on what, you see and what people tell you. But yeah, there are many healing benefits. I mean, people around the world specialize in certain things. There's Biodanza for Alzheimer's patients because it regulates the motor system. There's Biodanza for addictions. There's people around the world doing fantastic work. Biodanza, for example, I was facilitating in Zambia for the caretakers at a Catholic hospice, where most people were afflicted with AIDS, and the caretakers might have been too, most likely were, but were still they had just had HIV, and they needed some stress relief. And so I was there to just give them an hour of that. And the joy alone, like 1 hour of joy, and connection in the body is renovating. We don't really know like exactly what's happening in the body, but we do know that when we put ourselves in these positive eco-factor environments, that only good stuff is going to happen.
Do
So,
people usually come for a reason, like, for example, like something that they want to heal? Like you mentioned this person that was suffering from trauma. Do they come because they have anxiety or trauma, or do they come for more general reasons, just like they want to enjoy dancing? Or do people specifically come for healing specific issues?
well, you know, it's hard to say. When I think about people all around the world and just my clients in general, they just find me somehow. I think it's the universe who brings them to me for some reason. They see an ad, they read an article, they know they like dance, they know they need more contact with other human beings. Most people are seeking something. Yes, most people are seeking human connection. You know, and which is why we call Biodanza the poetry of human encounter, because it's not Biodanza if you're off in a corner dancing by yourself. So most people are seeking connection with other human beings real time, like not on Facebook, which is why you can't do Biodanza on Facebook, or it's a real time thing. But yeah, I mean, you know, there's so many thousands of people who do Biodanza. I don't know why they each and every one of them come. I know that one, loved dance, and two, was seeking some sort of healing around being so far away from my friends in Africa, moving every 4 years. It was, you know, it was difficult. And so I was craving some sort of community, and which is what I found in Johannesburg. And I still to this day have so many beautiful friends in South Africa. Hello, if you're watching. And some of whom have moved around the world, but yeah, so people come for various reasons.
And I see you've done the Biodanza for organizations. Do you have specific programs like that you might work with offices or corporations or something I mean, it sounds like it would be something really good to do with people in these settings to kind of harmonize their working together. And I wondered if that's what that was about, and
Yes.
whether you do that for specific groups.
So in the system of Biodanza, we have a few what we call extensions that you can go study Biodanza for specific areas. And so I did Biodanza for organizations. There are people who have worked in organizations who are Biodanza facilitators, and they've created this Biodanza for organizations. And so, yes, it's amazing to go in and just like loosen up the suits and work on team building. Biodanza is beautiful for working on team building. So it's not one of my fortes. I've done the extension. I would like to go into schools. Like I've done some stuff in schools, so which is an organization. Yes, so there's people who are real specialists. I don't do corporate stuff, but I do schools. I kind of like focus on what I'm good at.
You've done the Biodanza for children, youth, and families. How is that different? Is that what you're using in schools, or do you work like with groups of children, for example?
Yes.
Outside of schools.
Yeah. So that was another extension that I loved. And there I learned how to propose what we call a biocentric education for children and youth. And, you know, I think that it's a beautiful thing to get children together communicating. And that's what Biodanza does in general. And the structure is the same for children. The Vivencias are structured a little bit differently in terms of what is proposed. It's more games and fun, but it's about getting children to think about life, that life is sacred, that we are all beautiful human beings, no matter what we look like. And kids think that in the beginning. Kids are not we create the children, right? So the kids, sometimes when they come to the Biodanza, you know, it takes a bit of work, like, but by proposing these dances where they're communicating and team building with each other on a childlike level, which is kind of the same thing that we do in the regular adult classes, you're creating a new generation of people in this biocentric education. That's what we call it. There are people there in Europe, there are schools that have accepted Biodanza into their systems, and the kids go to Biodanza. I have one colleague who, when the kids are naughty, instead of going to detention, they go to Biodanza. So he's there
Excellent.
a few days a week, and they love it. And so it's not a punishment.
They're going to be getting detention all the time just so they can go and dance.
Right? They love it. They love it because they can come and, you know, not feel bad and pull out the positive and learn about life while moving with other kids. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. I've facilitated Biodanza for children a lot in Zambia at the American school, and some community people came to it. I do Biodanza for moms and tots, or dads and tots. So the parent comes with the toddler, and that was quite spectacular to see the dads dancing around. Biodanza I've had a few Biodanza for family events here in Maryland, where mom and dad will come with their kids, and you know, you propose a Viventia. And it's really a wonderfully bonding experience. I enjoy that very much.
Do you do classes for children, like for different age groups, or that's mainly in schools or some other setting?
I at the moment I do not, but there are classes that can be organized for the elementary school age kids, middle school, and then a separate class for teens. Yeah, and just like a regular Biodanza class, you would propose to a school system, you know, for the semester to come 10 times, and they would come. Classes are 1 hour. So a normal Biodanza class, which we didn't mention, is about 2 hours. But it's not 2 hours of straight on dancing. It's a half-hour share. It's an hour and a half of dancing with 12 dances or exercises, but each one is broken up by a rest, because another thing that's super important in life is that we need to self-regulate. So Biodanza is a system of self-regulation. We teach the body to instinctively self-regulate, to stop when it needs to stop, to breathe when it needs to breathe, and to not be frenetic. And we teach people how to be in feedback with each other, which is why the organization, Biodanza and organization, works so well, and the children's work so well, because, you know, I think a lot of, if we can see in the world today, we're not in feedback with each other. And so
absolutely, you post something. I mean, I think this is the problem. People maybe on Facebook post something horrible. If they had to see the reaction on your face when they posted that, they probably wouldn't say it. I think that distance is a really toxic thing. And yes, we need to respond, communicate, but also in the moment where we're seeing what kind of a response we're getting. There's no feedback loop anymore.
Right. So when I think about Biodanza for children, yeah, it's really, it could be, if you know, in the United States anyway, they take away the arts. The first thing they take away is the music, the art, the dance, and we're hyper focused on testing, and we've lost the element of human connection. So for me, Biodanzas would be like a no-brainer to put into the system for elementary, middle, for everybody. I think that it would help children just become better human beings.
And it would probably make them so much easier to deal with. You know, just everyone is diagnosed ADD now. Maybe if there was some kind of healthy movement that the child could do to get rid of something that's being locked in there, I think these issues would probably decline greatly.
Yeah. So, you know, in the world, there are teachers like myself who resonate with taking this out to children or youth. And so those people are doing that. And the others that resonate with working in hospital systems, they're doing that in the organization. So there's lots of different types of extensions that one can do in Biodanza according to your own desires, you know, that tap into life. A lot of things are being shared around the world in terms of Biodanza and putting life in the center and treating life like it should be, which is sacred.
You said you'd also worked with Alzheimer's patients. Is that?
Yes, well,
did I hear
not
that correctly?
specifically. So yeah, well, Rolando did. He did some research with the Alzheimer's patients, and there's a
Okay.
link on my website about the research that he came up with. I have had some. I used to go to New York City to facilitate weekly. It was a long trek, but I did have one Alzheimer's patient. No, it wasn't Alzheimer's. I'm sorry, it wasn't Alzheimer's. It was a Parkinson's. But there is work being done with Alzheimer's patients as well. But the one gentleman who's in my class was Parkinson's. And what it does for Parkinson's is certain music, certain rhythms and beats regulates and stops the shaking. And when you stop the shaking, you can be in repair on the inside. It has marvelous effects. And I think just the community aspect of it and being with other people, there's not enough out there right now for us to really know what's happening, but whatever it is, it's positive. I've seen that in my 1 or 2 clients who have come to a class. I'm not familiar with working with Alzheimer's. I know people are doing that. And of course, music is reparative. I mean, it has been for the ages. I mean, the shamans use it, the indigenous people used it. Music is a deeply profound healing modality. So, which is why it's really important in Biodanza. We don't just pick any old song. It's very specific. The words are important, or the lack of words. So yeah.
Is that what the voice and percussion extension was about?
Oh yeah, that was so much fun too. So I went to Brazil and I spent 4 days learning about Biodanza voice and percussion. So that is using your voice with small percussive instruments, as well as like organizing a workshop with live bongo drumming. And it's spectacular, because part of our power is in being able to voice, to speak up for ourselves, right? And sometimes that's hard to do. So what that extension is about weaving voice and percussion into your classes. I mean, not every week, but it used to be a weekend in one of the learning weekends in Biodanza that kind of, like, when he condensed it, kind of fell off. So even some of the facilitators aren't used to using voice and percussion. I love it, and I encourage people to sing in the beginning of class when we don't want to, when it's okay to activate here, you know, the cortex. So getting people to, you know, be brave. Some people aren't brave, but it allows people to start to hum, or start to sing the words of a song they might know, or to be creative with the percussive instruments. So I have like this whole collection now of African percussive instruments, and that I cart around when I know I'm going to be throwing in something into my class. But yeah, that's a pretty spectacular extension to do as well. Lots of fun. And so it's using the voice in silly ways. It's using the breath. It's using the voice in very deeply profound ways. There's so many ways to introduce the voice into a class. But again, it's all done on a level appropriateness and introduced when the dancers are ready for the concept.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, you have a free gift for our listeners. So why don't you tell them a little bit about what that is, for those who would like to take advantage of that?
Okay. Well, I have created a private Facebook page, with 7 gifts of movement. So it's 7 days of different kinds of movement, and there were 7 videos. And so that is my gift to you. Whether you're in or out of your body, there are little snippets of ways to reconnect back into the body gently, and some with vitality. You'll have to go and explore and see what's there.
So check that out.
Check that out.
There's a link, and you can find your way to those videos. You also have some up and coming events.
I do. I have, let's see, May 19th, actually, in California, I'm offering a pleasure workshop in the San Francisco Bay Area in Marin County. So that's a 1-day workshop. I'm offering the almost same workshop on the East Coast in Connecticut on June 1st. So you can check my website for that. In November, we have a spectacular cruise happening, leaving out of Galveston, Texas. It's a 7-day cruise. It's great for new people. And we're combining it with a concept called deep democracy. So a woman from South Africa will be with us, and she'll be giving workshops on deep democracy and what that means in our world today, as well as cruising and traveling to the beaches and doing some wonderful stuff, going down to the Honduras and Mexico. So that's pretty spectacular as well. That's if you live by me. If you don't live by me, but you're still intrigued by Biodanza, please Google Biodanza in your city or your country, and I'm sure you'll be able to find someone somewhere offering a class. And tell them I said hi and that I sent you.
Michelle sent me. Excellent. Well, thank you, Michelle. Thank you for sharing your Biodanza with us, and your experiences and your wisdom and your gifts and everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. It's such a pleasure, real pleasure to be here.
And thank you for being with us. Bye-bye.